Welcome to yet another beautiful episode, another beautiful day. This is Katom Kasa for Humans TV Africa. And of course, in the studio is my brother Dennis Bongole, who is doing the slides. Of course, without a producer, I cannot do much, honestly. So much of this work is put together by Dennis Bongole, who makes sure that we have a better production. Now, my name is Katom Kasa. Of course, I'm Ugandan, and I'm very interested in issues, human rights, and issues development. And this is Humanist TV Africa. This is Humanist TV Africa, where we encourage you to please kindly subscribe to our channel, which is at Humanist TV Africa, but also follow, like, share our Facebook page, which is Humanist TV Africa. Now, Humanist TV Africa is having branches, all call them studios in Uganda, where we have 3 studios so far in Uganda. We have 2 studios in Kenya. We have 2 studios in Nigeria. We have a studio in Zambia. We have a studio in Zimbabwe. We have a studio in Ghana. And of course, we intend to open up more studios elsewhere in Africa. We want to continue growing bigger and bigger, but of course, we are starting small. We have started small. We have studios in several countries in Africa, and we intend to open more studios across Africa. We intend to share knowledge using this TV. We intend to empower our people using this TV. We intend to learn from our people using this TV, and our people here mean everyone in the world. We are humans. We don't really segregate. We don't really look at people in terms of their skin color, geographical locations, and all that. In fact, we are going to have studios in Europe. We are going to have studios in the US, but it should be still Humanist TV Africa. After all of us are people from Africa. That's where our origin is. But we thought that people in Africa today need this kind of information away from the sensational, away from the usual media rhetoric, which is full of excitement, banter, a lot of crap really meant to sell things to people. So we thought that this TV is going to give an alternative to the mainstream media, where we come and give you the news right from Africa, but also give you things which most people fear to talk about because they are compromised, because they want to win tenders, because they want to get sponsorships. There are things people fear to talk about, basically, for their own survival, for their own success. They fear to talk about them. But here at African Humans TV Africa, we talk about these things regardless of the consequences. We talk about them. And now we also want to defeat mythology. That's why we talk about religions. We talk about cultures. We talk about economics. We talk about politics. We talk about things people fear to talk about. But here we dare to talk about them. Today, of course, we are going to be discussing about Africa, but of course, we're going to be looking at its advantage, the competitive advantage of Africa. The program is called The Entrepreneur. But of course, in this program, I look at Africa first and how to better Africa using Africa's competitive advantage to empower people, using Africa's competitive advantage to empower people. This is episode 5. Now, if you have been following me, you know I've been talking about these episodes, this theme in episodes. Now, this is episode 5. I'm going to encourage you to look for the other. No, this is episode 4. Sorry. This is episode 4. I encourage you to go in our archives and look for other episodes. There's episode 1, episode 2, and episode 3. This is episode 4. Now, in episode 4, I'll give you a recap of episode 3. I said in episode 3 that Africa's advantage today lies in her soils. That soil, the fertile soils of Africa we have, that's where our number 1 advantage is. In fact, if you're an African living in Africa and you don't have a garden where you can get food, you're in trouble. I should repeat it for you, you're in trouble. If you think you're going to rely on one man in the pocket because you have a job, maybe by watching me today, it's going to be your turning point. And maybe 10 years from now, we'll say, there was a man I watched on TV and said, I must have a garden. Maybe if you watch me today with your wife, with your children, and say, they ask you, Daddy, do you have a garden? And you say no. They're going to tell you, Katom, because I told you to have a garden if you want to secure our future. The future is not only in the pocket because you can buy the money. If you're in Africa, honestly, you need a piece of land where you can get food. I got that knowledge from my grandfather, but the father of my mother, the maternal grandfather, used to say, if a man without a garden, do not marry. And we are young, but now I make sense out of what he was saying. He will say, my sons, my children, if you're a man without a garden, do not marry. If you're a man who doesn't know how to farm, please do not marry. What will you feed the woman? Someone is going to say, oh, I have money, I can buy food. No, I'm an African. I'm telling you from a conservative African ideology, a man must have a garden. A man must have a source of food that tomorrow, if your job is over, you can go in your garden, get some bananas, get some yams, get some sweet potatoes, and feed your family. This is what my paternal grandfather taught me. And I think he was right. He died about 20-something years ago now. But that message, I give it to you. He taught me how to dig, and he taught me that a man to survive in a homestead, there must be a stable source of food. Why we are slaves today, even in our own countries, because we must work for our stomachs. Yet our great grandparents had fixed that problem. They had fixed the problem of feeding. Now, today, capitalism has made us slaves in our own countries. Why and how? We are looking forward to buying the next meal. Think about it. We wake up today to work for food. They call it in my country, in my vernacular, emmere ya leero. I know Dennis has understood this. The food for today, emmere ya leero. We work for today's food. And how do you survive working for today's food? The question is, if tomorrow you got an accident, how will you survive? If tomorrow you were laid off your work, how will you survive? I know someone is going to hear me today and is going to take this message seriously. I beg you to please think about having a garden. You remember me, even when I'm dead, 20 years from today or 30, you will see that there was one man I watched and he said that his grandfather told him that a real man is measured by the size of his plantation. That's why my grandfather was a wealthy man with lots of banana plantations. And to me, that was wealth because there was no lack of food. He had much land, but all of it with food and coffee. To me, I call my grandfathers wealthy because they had assets and assets that are real, that can feed people. Now, this one thing I want to tell people watching me, that we are doing these programs not to show off, but to empower our people, because our people have been poisoned. People think about selling their pieces of land back home to go to the city and become wheelbarrow pushers and become border riders to work for today's food, to work for today's food, because everyone must go in the city. Yet in Europe, well-off people actually live in the countryside, where they have enough land, where they have plantations, where they have bigger houses. Well-off people live off the city. In Africa, it's the reverse. Thank you. In Africa, it is the reverse. In Africa, it is the reverse. We live for today's survival. Mere ya leero. today's survival. There's no way Africa is going to develop when we are training our children to go study, have a degree, and get employed and work for mere ya lero, today's food. I will not teach it to my children. And I speak it here. I will never teach my children that their dream is to aspire to feed themselves. It was never our dream because that equation had been solved. The dream was to build a pyramid. The dream was to build a railway station. The dream was to build a school. That was the dream, not how to feed. But now we have been conditioned to think about food. Someone says, what are you going to eat today? Now, eating becomes a problem. It was never a problem in Africa. It was never a problem in Africa. Now, I will not teach my children to think that feeding is success, because that was an equation our ancestors had solved. They thought about wars and fighting and expanding. I told you that where I come from was not part of Buganda. We are from different tribes, but Buganda came from 3 chiefdoms and took over our area. We are part of Angola, we are part of Rwanda, we are part of elsewhere, part of Tanzania. Now, but because the Baganda were strong and ambitious, always wanted to expand their territories. That's why the Baganda took over my area, and I became a Muganda by extension. But we were never Baganda. But the Baganda were ambitious people, proud people. Now, food was never a worry of an African man. Food was never a worry of an African woman, until we understand that as people in Africa, that our competitive advantage, number one, lies in our soils. Until we go back to the roots, where did the problem start from? People telling us that actually you are better off with a degree. I have 3 degrees. Am I better off? No. In fact, I may be bad off with my 3 degrees and so many diplomas. So education became even a lie at the end of the day, because it gives you a comfort zone. You think you are better than others, when in fact you are worse off than others. Now, I want to tell Africa that education is good. Have all these degrees if you want. But the bottom line is, can you feed your family? And when you are dead, will your family survive the long haul? Or your family is going to be begging on streets? Is the question. I want anyone watching me today to ask himself, herself, that if you died today, will your children take over your degrees? No. I have 3 degrees, I have diplomas, I'm a lawyer. But none of my children will ever become a lawyer because I was a lawyer. They must work for it. They must work for their own terrain, which means my degrees are useless to my children because it's mine, not theirs. So education becomes only yours. It becomes only important if you use it to empower other people to live a better life after you. If I leave my children suffering, honestly, they will curse me. They will watch this video and they will curse me and will be right. Because my education wouldn't have helped them. It is mine. The degrees are mine. They will never take over my job. They will never do the things I do. They will be different from me. Now, it goes back to what my grandfather told me, and I've been sharing with Dennis and many others, that a real man must have a garden. And I always repeat that, and I tell you, who told it to me? My grandfather called Basi. He was a man from a background which was Tanzanian, which was different, actually. And I will even speak these things here. I come from a very mixed family. But his analysis, his understanding was that we are made by our own soils. We are made by our own soils, and the survival of the people in Africa is in their own soils. Now, that is a recap I've made, and I've taken 10 minutes to do that. A recap to tell you that whenever you come here to tell you about our advantage as people in Africa, I always stress one thing until you get it, because I know every day someone is watching me. until you get it that our advantage is in our soils. Me, I told you, the little pieces of land I have never sold one. And I tell you, I will never sell one. Let my children be stupid and sell, but me, I will never sell one. I rather go hungry, I rather suffer. But to sell my piece of land, no. Because the survival of an African family must lie in their land. Until we get it, if you're going to sell that land, there must be something higher, so important than that land. And to me, I haven't seen it yet. I cannot sell my piece of land to educate a child. I will never. Let them be illiterate, but the land remains there. I will never. You cannot sell your piece of land to go and marry a woman. For what? But I've seen them selling them to go and marry a woman. I've seen selling their pieces of land to build a house. And then sell the house at the end of the day. So the opportunity cost you use, to me, land is our advantage. Now, having said that, today's episode, what am I going to emphasize? One, I'm going to emphasize connectivity. Africa needs to build networks. Africa must build networks. People in Africa, especially people following these hopeless Pan-Africans, who are first of all racists, they think that Africa is for Africans. And they are ignorantly twats. They don't actually know who is an African. That actually all of us are Africans, whether you are Caucasian, whether you're Asian, we are Africans. Because after all, we come from the same source. Therefore, Africa is not for Black people. Africa is for everyone that loves Africa. That's why I had my sister Linda loving Africa more than actually I did love Africa. Linda loved more Africa more than I loved Africa. She was born there. She experienced the suffering. She wanted to make Africa better. So how dare you say Africa is for people like me? No, it's not. Africa is full of us. People that are wishing that continent well. That is our home. Now, to build synergies in economics, in management, we call it synergies. Networking is important. We must have friends in all these countries, Norway, Iceland, US, Canada, UK. We must now get friends and partner and work with them. We must encourage these people to come to Africa. To me, this is important. I've been putting this in my books, and I use this chance to talk about it because tomorrow I may not be able to talk about these things. I tell you, people in Africa, the only thing we can do now is to invite everyone to come. Let us not be conservative, that when people come, they are going to take over. No. I've seen it in some racist Caucasians actually who think that when people come in their countries, they are going to take over, or they are going to be more Black people. Oh, that is nonsense. That is being racist and being stupid at the end of the day. Because we have allowed everyone to come to Africa anyway before, but we remained Africans. We remained Africans. We remained Black people. But we had many other people coming in. So what's wrong with people going to the UK? What's wrong with people going to Australia and stay there? After all, they have been there before. If you go to history, they have been there before. Thousands of years ago, they have been there before. So what's new? All of us are visitors. All of us are strangers. All of us are nomads. Now, I want to encourage people in Africa, one, to invite investors. If you have a school like Pearl Vocation, which is our school, and you can be able to get investors to partner with you, invite them. It's the only way we're going to help Africa develop, by getting networks, by getting technology, by getting capital from elsewhere to invest in Africa. If someone is going to work with me in Africa to start a hospital, why not? I welcome that. Let us welcome investors in Africa, but investors that help us develop, not investors that steal from us. Those are different things. The investors that actually come to steal from us, and they get everything, they take back to their countries, and then they say, we are poor, having stolen from us. Now, let us have investors that look at us as partners with respect. We call it mutual respect in management. With partnerships. I've been able to work with Norwegians, and I can say Norwegians respect partnerships. I should say that openly here. The years I worked with the Norwegians, they're the best people you can work with in terms of partnerships. They respect you, they respect partnerships. They know it's a partnership, it's not, they respect those kind of arrangements. So we need to get more of these people that respect you for who you are, and you deal with them on a mutual respect, mutual partnership basis. We need such people more in Africa. Now, the other thing we need to look at, Dennis is going to show you photos later on, Dennis wait on, is apart from networking, we need to look at our tourism. I've been talking about it, and know that we have an advantage when it comes to tourism. Africa, I've been saying this over and over, has the best climate in the world. Deny it all you want. Deny it all you want. Africa has the best climate in the world. This I'll tell you to my relatives, I'll tell you to my children, I'll tell you to everyone that Africa, be proud of it, has the best climate in the world. A climate that goes for us 12 months. But the question I've been asking always is, how do we use our climate? Once our people know, once our children know this, and know that in Africa there's an advantage, our children will be successful. But once they are brainwashed to think that everything good is in Europe and in the US and in China and in Asia, Africa will remain stagnant and our children are going to be slaves. I'll speak that here today. Our children will remain slaves of others until their mindset is changed. They remain working for others in their toilets, in their whatever, until they free their mindset. I know that we are people once, we are great once, we have the best environment, we can be queens and kings on our own soils. And it brings us to the peace that we want, as we're going to see briefly in my montage of photos. But we must work towards creating peace in Africa, a peaceful continent. We must find ways to deal with dictators. I've been very sharp on this. Dennis knows my kind of talk. I hate dictators. The reason why I've been always arguing with politicians, always condemning bad regimes, including in my own country, Uganda. Until we fix our leadership, we shall not move forward. So it's a big problem that I can't even solve it in one talk. That Africa is full of bad leadership, very corrupt. But we must look for the causes, not the symptoms. What are the causes of bad regimes in Africa? How do we create sustainable development without peace? It's impossible. So as people in Africa, we must now start to love ourselves as peaceful, loving people and avoid foreigners using us to fight their proxy wars. Let me repeat that. Foreigners use us to fight their proxy wars. Do you know proxy war? Someone uses it, is far away in Europe, is far away in the US. He uses it to fight their own war, to their own benefit. The guns are theirs, and then they come, they give you their guns, they kill each other, they take your minerals, they come, do the investments in your country. That's how they do it. We all know that. You doubt it? Read The Economic Hitman by John Perkins, American fella who was involved in stealing from Africa and the world. How US actually has been stealing from Africa. Read the book, Economic Hitman, Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Just know how Europe and US have been decampaigning Africa, have been seriously making Africa poor intentionally. Intentionally. So until we realize that actually not everyone who says their friend is our friend, and until we look for the best allies, we are going to remain stagnant. And I always speak these things without fear or favor. We are going to remain stagnant. So we must identify who is our friend. Why do we fight? When we kill each other, who benefits? When Sudanese are killing each other, always ask yourself, who is the ultimate beneficiary? What does Sudan have? When I was Googling, I find gold. I found all these other minerals. Ask yourself, where do these minerals go? Which are the companies behind the wars? Companies, not even governments openly. Companies. I call them corporations. companies behind wars in Africa. And we are so gullible, we are so stupid. We think if someone gives me $1 million, I'm okay. The question is, where will you enjoy your money? Will you enjoy it in Europe? I don't think so. Will you enjoy your money in USA? You, an African man? I don't think so. But again, you are killing your own people to get this money. But the point is, where will you enjoy this money? And to what extent? How will it help your children? Until we look inside us and say, the problem is us. We are greedy. We are corrupt. We are easily lied to. We are easily manipulated. We look short term as leaders in Africa. People come, use us, corporations come, use us, steal from us, they give us crumbs. I call them crumbs. Someone is stealing 100 billions from you, US billions from you, and is giving you 1 billion out of 100, and you are clapping your hands. Why? Because for you to go to Europe and your family be cared for. The question is, to what extent will that kind of robbery continue? And how will it help Africa when we are killing each other to benefit a few people in Africa and to benefit a few corporations in the rest of the world? So as Africans, how do we empower ourselves? By understanding that the cause of conflict is not in our own benefit, in our own interest. Whenever you see a war in Africa, trust me, someone behind it is somewhere beyond Africa. And these are corporations. I've researched, I have written a book, which I read at one point, and I will tell you which companies are behind conflicts in Africa and why. These very companies go ahead and even sponsor members of parliament. Why? Why should a company in France sponsor members of parliament in Uganda? Why? Why should a company in the UK, a company in the USA sponsor members of parliament in Uganda? Why? What's their interest? They are not Ugandans. Therefore, why are they interfering with our politics? Why should a company like Taro Oil interfere in the politics of Uganda? In parliament affairs, why should they be sponsoring trips? Why? People must begin asking these questions. So our advantage is going to be number 3 or 4, by learning where our weaknesses are and why we are fighting, and also ask for peace. Ask for peace. Lastly, before I go into the photos, is the issue I want to look at of the strength of our monies. I'm an economist, and I will say privately I read economics, which made me aware of economy. So I use my economics today here briefly. Now, what determines the value of money? The question is, what determines the value of money? And the other question is, who determines the value of money? I won't take into the history of money because that's a long lesson I won't go into. Let us simply look at money and ask ourselves, who determines the value of money in Africa? Who? And why? How come that our monies are being determined by banks in the UK, by banks in America, by banks in Washington, of course, America, by banks in London? Why? That our money, our economy, is being determined by forces beyond us. And we have no control, absolutely no control about it. And we say we went to school to study economics, and we call ourselves economists who are empty-headed because we haven't provided a solution. We saw we had Suruma, we had what professors of economics who have not provided a single solution to that problem. And we call them professors of economics who have not solved a single, you have not provided us with a single solution to Africa's money problem. That our monies in Africa continue to fluctuate based on the whims of banks in Europe, notably banks in the UK, in London, and banks in the US. And the entire continent, with people better than me 1,000 times, well educated, with influence, well traveled, cannot sit down to find a solution to strengthen the money economy of Africa. They cannot. Why? They are compromised. Go and look at World Bank. Go and look at IMF. Talk about it, they will kill you. They will assassinate you. And you know what happened to Gaddafi. Assassinations. Governments are changed. Whoever tries to bring a solution, there is a problem. But even when these people are being assassinated by these companies, should we stop talking about these things? Because we fear they're going to kill us. Because we fear someone wants to continue owning Africa in their own pockets. That our monies must remain useless every year for decades. That we have no control of our resources, of our monies. The value of our monies must always be determined by forces beyond us. Yet on paper, when you're in the School of Economics, which I studied, they'll tell you, oh, you can determine your value by basing on ABCD. They'll tell you the commodities you're going to use to value your money. They're going to talk about the gold reserves. They're going to talk about all those crap things. I know it. I'm an economist. I know it. The gold reserve theory, the silver, the metals, they're going to tell you gold reserves. You see, but that is all bullshit. Because until our value can be determined by the pound, that our value, our money cannot affect the pound, but the pound must affect our money. Ask yourself that question. Our money cannot affect the value of the dollar, but the dollar must affect our money. Why? Why? If you say that our money has value, but our money cannot affect the pound, cannot affect the yen, cannot affect the euro, cannot affect the dollar, but the dollar must affect us, the yen must affect us, the pound must affect us. And then when you rank the 7 strongest money economies, we don't feature anywhere. But we want to tell us that, oh, no, you can determine your things. You have power, you are government. Which governments do we have that don't have control of the value of their money? No one asks these questions, but they want us, all of us, to keep quiet and say, we studied economics. To what advantage? We ask ourselves that in the 1600, money was determined by God. Until the 1600 going forward. Go and look into the books, do some bit of research. What happened? In 1930s, the gold standard was abandoned. What did they bring to you? They brought us what they call the fiat money. They say that gold money was bad. Gold backing money was bad. One, because gold could depreciate. Two, gold was too heavy to carry. Three, gold was unpredictable. Four, gold was easy to forge. They gave reasons. They are very smart. And they taught me those reasons in the School of Economics. You see, why we abandoned the gold reserves, the gold-backed money, is because gold was bad. It's because gold was too heavy. They gave reasons. They do documents of giving reasons. And they say, we have fiat money. Since 1934, we have that fiat money. And I asked, what is fiat money? I researched because I was studying economics. Money not backed by anything. I repeat it for you in simple terms. Money not backed by anything but goodwill, but the strength of the country, but the guns of the country. I repeat it for you. You can Google it. You'll find they are giving funny answers. But I'll tell you as someone who interprets. Fiat money, money not backed by anything serious. They are going to tell you precious metals like silver, like diamonds, like gold. But in actual sense, it's the guns of the country, it's the influence of the country, it's the power of the government of the country that determines its strength. They're going to tell you that we have gold reserves. Ask them, to what extent are they helping them? Ask them, those countries who say they have gold reserves, do they have gold? I'll repeat this question for you. The countries who say that each country must have gold reserves to back its money, do they have gold? Do they have gold? Where do they get the gold? So we go back to fiat money. money backed by the guns of a country, money backed by what they call faith and goodwill. They cannot use the guns I'm talking about, because for me, I'm candid. I talk candidly. They're going to tell you money backed by faith, by goodwill, by the strength of the economy, by the strength of the government. They are going to give you other factors, but I'm making it simple for you. It's money backed by the power of the government. Go and look at the Federal Reserve Act of the US, 1934. What it tells you, you want to cry. And look at how these Americans bring about the idea of fiat money. Of course, combined with the Britons. 1934, the Britons adopted. 1960, 71, the Americans adopted. But they have had their own plan. They are running away from a gold-backed money economy to an economy where they have the powers to determine the value of your money by virtue of their governments being stronger than yours. They will say, our governments are doing better, so we can determine the value of money for the world. They create their own agencies, IMF, World Bank. And World Bank is working in user advantage. IMF is working in user advantage. Your advantage? Think again. When I was in the School of Economics, I read IMF and I was so much frustrated. When I was reading IMF and the World Bank, how they started, how they operate, and how they cheat third world countries, as they call us, how they frustrate third world countries. IMF and World Bank have never worked in the interests of third world economies. I'll repeat it. IMF and World Bank have never worked in the interest of third world economies. Research it and will tell me when they have ever worked in our own interests. The policies they have brought us have increased unemployment, have made people more poorer, have increased the gap between the poor and the rich. The policies of World Bank and IMF. They are going to tell you that why IMF, the International Monetary Fund, and World Bank are working in the best interest of third world countries. They are going to tell you that. I'm here to tell you it's a lie. So until people in Africa, especially politicians, because many of them are ignorant, these things are started at master's level under economics. I'm a commercial lawyer, so I know the things. Not everyone actually knows the things I know anyway, to be honest. But the point is that when you get a hopeless member of parliament, a senior six dropout, who has not even appreciated single basic economics, and put them in parliament, and you think you're going to have a better parliament, you think you're going to have better laws, you better think again. So Africa is going to be stagnant because the leaders we have, I want to mention names, are too ignorant that once they have a Benz, a Range Rover, a flat, a big piece of land, it's the end of the world. They know nothing about the world in real terms. Once they go to the US, they go to London, they visit big cities, they are happy, they take photos, that is it. So until Africa redefines themselves by getting leaders who ask questions and say, how do we again make our currencies better? That's the question I want people in Africa to start thinking about. I repeat this question. African people in Africa must start asking the question. The question is, how do we make our currencies competitive? That's the question I leave it to you. How do we make our currencies competitive when we have fiat money that is based on the powerfulness of the country? Research it. They are going to give you reasons, but research fiat money and how it is moved. They are going to give you reasons why they actually criticize gold money. Why? Of course, America has gold, but look at these other countries. What do they have? And look at the first 10 countries with gold. Of course, you're going to see countries like Canada featuring, countries like Australia featuring, and then the rest are in Africa. So who has the most gold? But why are they poor? Okay, gold is bad, as you say. Let us go to diamonds. Let us go to silver. Gold is bad. He said gold was bad because it's too heavy. They can duplicate it. They can counterfeit it because it depreciates. It doesn't stabilize the currency. They gave reasons in their workings. They are very smart. And they said, let us run away from a gold-backed currency and you go to fiat. And I was asking, what is fiat? What is fiat? What are you going to back it with? Credit, debit, faith, strength of the economy. And they don't say it openly. Guns. Guns, I repeat it for you. Guns, 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 guns. Go beat them down. Go destroy their cities. Use your guns so you are strong. They must listen to you. Guns back up fiat money. But they're going to give you different reasons why it's better. So until people, now this message goes to the leaders in Africa, until our politicians get a sixth sense and say, we have sold our great children, our grandchildren to the hyenas. They may think they are better, but until they get philosophers like me, thinkers like me to say, we have gone wrong, we need to have leaders that are going to stand up and speak for the children we are giving birth to. Because they're going to blame us for not speaking these things. That we are all of us, we are so stupid to let our children be slaves in their own countries, to set our own economies because of peanuts, that we never even said the basic things we studied in school, that we never even guided our politicians to bargain, to go for fair trade. They said gold backed money was bad, but they said gold reserves are good. What a contradiction. They ran away from the gold backed money, but say gold reserves are good. You know, gold reserves are good. So what is which? So going forward, Africa's advantage is knowing where our strength is. Gaddafi may be a bad man, and I'm using the word deliberately, may have been a bad man. But Gaddafi had one dream. And the reason basically they killed him. They are going to tell you many lies. They're going to tell you he bombed people. They have propaganda. I'm not going to promote it here. Gaddafi was killed because Gaddafi had a proposal that Africa had to unite. And Africa had to have one currency backed by gold. God did it. He said it openly, not once, not twice. And look at the annals of history, how much gold Libya alone has. How much gold Morocco, Tunisia, Algeria has. Algeria has some of the most valuable gold in the world. Algeria alone. So Maghreb region, which is in Africa, which is part of Africa, Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia, Egypt, have more gold. And here was a man saying, we want an African economy backed by gold. And Gaddafi is being assassinated. Gaddafi was killed. Gaddafi was a martyr. I will speak this. They are going to hate me. Gaddafi was a martyr for Africa. He made his mistakes. But because he told the French people and the Europeans and the Americans that Africa, and it was the chair for Africa, Africa is going to go back to the gold economy. Africa is going to go back because we have the gold. You don't have it. Some of them have it, of course, but not all of them don't have it. And so we are running away from fiat money. They brought guns. They say Gaddafi has bombed, Gaddafi has killed. They killed him. And of course, they're going to say, oh, I'm bad. But I don't care. I always tell you, I don't care whatever happens. I'll tell you things because I read them, because I'm an economist, because I know the truth. And it sets me free. He spoke it not once, not twice. He said that African economies will be empowered by using our gold advantage. And they killed him. They all combined effort using NATO, or NATO as we call it, France on the forefront. Countries bombed Gaddafi and killed him within months. Why? Why? Why were they going against Gaddafi? Was he the baddest man on earth? Was he the most stable man on earth? What was Libya about? And you compare Libya today and Libya then. A country where almost everyone had a good life. People are not poor. People had houses, people had free education, people had medicine. Look at Libya today, what they did to Libya today. How was Gaddafi killed? He had mistakes, like many of these leaders, of course, have mistakes. But the suggestion to bring Africa together, to have an African economy backed again by the gold reserves of Africa, made Gaddafi a #1 target. And I repeat it, for African leaders, the more we have psychophants that are going to bootlick every other government, our children, us, we are going to die because none of us are going to live forever. People normally say they fear death, they fear opportunities. Me, I don't fear. Because I know at the end of the day I'm going to die. But what will my children know me about? That I was a coward, that I knew some of the things that I kept quiet? No. Let them know that I spoke whatever I thought was right for my people. Gaddafi on economy was right. Remember, as a chair of OAU, he was the chair for Africa. He told the Africans, and he was getting their support. He said, look, we are tired of these countries determining the value of our money when we have the resources right here in Africa. We don't need these people to determine our value of the money. Let us be equal partners. He was actually saying, let us work as equal partners. He was asking for fairness. Equal partners. Let us have our money stronger because we have the resources that can back up these monies. Talk about gold reserves, we have the gold, we have the diamonds, we have the metals, the precious metals. Talk about in economies, we have everything here. Why are our people poor? Gaddafi was asking the question, I normally ask, why are our people poor when we have what it takes to make money stronger? Yet money determines things. And they say, we are poor. Why? Send this out. We are poor without gold. We are poor with our diamonds. We are poor with our silver. We have our copper. And you say we are poor. The question is, what backs fiat money? Go and research it. Guns. They are going to give you reasons. Credit, goodwill, faith, guns, and bombs. So until we people in Africa realize this, then I had to take my time to explain this. I'm going to invite you. I'm going to shoot my time by 10 minutes. I'm going to invite you to show the montage. I won't even speak much now. I've made my case for today's talk. Dennis, let us have those photos as I wind up. Unity. We are all Africans. Dennis, I'm going to rush them out. We are all Africans, whether you are yellow, orange, black, whatever it is, we are all Africans. Showcase Africa by utilizing our elderly family. Our elders are our sources of knowledge. Yeah, we are a family. We always work as a family. I was growing up and all of us were sharing. Can we share again these things as people in Africa? I was in Ethiopia and I like the coffee. Can we market the good things from Africa? The Ethiopian coffee, you know, the food, homemade food. Yeah, then thank you so much for that. Homemade food, homemade food. We have organic food. I mean, we have the most natural food in the world. We have all these fresh foods. How do we take advantage of our foods in Africa? Dennis, continue, please. Grow potatoes. You know, this was something which a friend sent me, and I said, I'm going to showcase it here. They are growing potatoes like this in Uganda. There's a home where they are growing potatoes in these things. And I was even impressed, basically. I said I should try this one at home because in Uganda, if food comes, why should we be hungry, honestly? Dennis, continue, please. Continue. I want to be in time. This is Kenya tourism, one of our advantages as people in Africa. Why should we be poor with all these things? You know, the radio brings us together. You know, it's a family thing. Dennis, continue. Yeah, we keep our elders safe and happy. We keep our elderly people safe and happy within our homes. That's an advantage. Look at it. We keep our elder people with us. They give us wisdom. We don't take our elder people away. We get wisdom from them. Keep your elder people with you. Scientists, we need more scientists today in Africa. I've been saying this, we need more sciences. This is my comrade brother, Leba Hosea, has a master's degree in medicine, is a medical doctor, and as a humanist, is a Tanzanian. I salute him. He just made his master's degree this week. We need all this. A mobile phone factory in Zambia is coming up. These young people are learning how to make mobile phones in Zambia. This is good. Africa needs this, job creation and technology advancement in Zambia. Africa does not need religion. I'll repeat it for you. Africa does not need religion. Africa needs technology. Africa needs technology. Israel relies on technology, not on religion. We need technology. Then let's go ahead. We need Ubuntu to rekindle our roots. I brought this image of the Ankh to show you 6,000 years ago, Africans in Africa, they called Kemet, believed that a man and a woman and the Holy Spirit, which is the ovums, made life possible. Can we keep life? Then let's continue. Dreadlocks, a history. One day I'll come here and talk about dreadlocks. We need to tell our women, our sisters, that let them love themselves. This business of buying everything foreign. Dreadlocks are part of us, for example. Let them be proud of themselves. Look at this young boy in traditional attire, you know. Let us teach our children to love their culture, to love who they are. Then let's continue, please. I want to beat time. The gold standard, I've talked about it. The World Bank economy for Africa, it was what Gaddafi had suggested. Of course, many people are going to disagree with me because of their propaganda. Then let's continue. But I will tell you, we still have to think about a gold-backed economy for Africa. We have to think. Look at these monies and make our conclusions. And ask yourself, what backs fiat money? Always ask yourself that. And who has the gold? Always ask yourself that. Then take me back to the gold-backed money. The thought of the gold. I'm going to give me a few minutes and let me explain this. I'm going to shoot by maybe 10 minutes, but I want people to understand this. Now, African countries with gold reserves are the following. On top is Algeria. Algeria has more gold than so many countries in the world. In fact, Algeria has 174 trillion tons of gold as I talk today. Ghana, my brother Nana Akufo, your country comes in second with gold reserves. In fact, some people say it has much of gold in Africa and much of gold in the world, but it's being ranked number 6 with the largest gold reserve worldwide. We have Egypt, we have South Africa, we have Libya, we have Nigeria, we have Guinea, we have Burkina Faso, we have Morocco, we have Tunisia, we have Mauritius, we have Mozambique. All these countries have gold. I haven't talked about other countries in Africa, you know. I've just said those. Uganda, my own country, has gold deposits that are over 31 million tons. Then listen to that. Uganda, my own country, has gold that is over 31 million tons of pure gold deposits. Now, everyone wants our gold, by the way. Always note that. We have 31 million tons of pure gold deposits in Uganda. Not yet even utilized. And it will give us 320,000 tons of pure gold. The gold we have in Uganda, I was researching. Now, who wants our gold? And how will our gold help us? How will our gold help us? Think about it. Then thank you so much for that photo. Let me talk about gold. List of countries by gold production in the world. Listen to this list, our viewers. Number 1 is China. According to gold production ranking, I've researched. Number 2 is Australia. Number 3 is Russia. Number 4 is Canada. Number 5 is USA. Number 6 is Mexico. Then we have Kazakhstan, South Africa, Peru. This list is not so much orderly, by the way. Don't take it orderly, but I'm giving you countries with most gold production. China, Australia, Russia, Canada, US, Mexico, Kazakhstan, South Africa, Peru, Ghana, Indonesia, Burkina Faso, Brazil, Colombia, Papua New Guinea, Mali, Sudan, Egypt, Ghana, Algeria, Libya, Nigeria, Uganda, Guinea, Burkina Faso, Morocco, Mozambique, Tunisia, Mauritius. When you look at that list I've given you, who has the most gold? Gold is in Africa. Much of it is in Africa. I've just repeated that, and I've mentioned countries. So you see, the Federal Reserve Act of the US, and when it came out, 1960s, you see how fiat money is being promoted, that goodwill of governments, and they are going to tell you full faith and credit worthiness of a country, gold reserves. They are going to talk about gold, silver. They're going to tell you so many things about fiat money, but how has it helped us? And see, The gold-backed reserve money was abandoned by the UK, I think, in 1930s, and by US in 1971. And then they gave reason and said, you see, gold was so hard to transport. You see, gold was not so durable. You see, gold could be easily counterfeited. They gave so many reasons why they were leaving the gold standard. Why? Where was the gold? Who had much gold? Who had much power to bargain? Yet actually they were controlling these other countries over us. They were controlling our countries, but still they thought, no, they are going to use fiat money. Why? Then let us go ahead with the montage. I'm happy I've made that connection. And my talk today, as always, is meant to open your eyes and think. Then let us go back now to the last photos. I think you better go back to the last one. Unity, unity, unity. Then I want to see the last photo now. Unity, 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 unity. If this is the last one, I'm happy. Actually, I'm happy. How capitalism works, I will tell you how capitalism works in one of my episodes. You see that man begging a man in a suit and a coat? That man needing down to beg a rich man? I talked about networking. Networking is so important. Networking is so important. Unity, 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 Dennis, is the way to go. We need to unite. We need to know who is on our side. Wars are not going to help Africa. Stop the war. Stop helping others to kill you. Stop helping others to kill you. Positive thinking can make us better. Let us be positive. Let us know who is our friend. Let us work with our friends. Look at these children with a happy road, a happy future. These children in Africa with a good environment, with all these resources, and say, what can we do to be better today? The future of our own people, Dennis. Dennis, I think my talk ends there. I'm happy I beat the time. I'm happy we made it possible today. The future lies with our positive thinking. But again, if you have learned something in today's show, send me a message. Write to us. Our email is there. Dennis is going to show you the email. Write to us. If you want to be featured, we want to be brainstorming. How do we take Africa forward? Write to us, Humanist TV Africa at proton.me. Remember, they're going to be talking about theories, conspiracies. You see, you are bad. But I'm giving you the facts. And these facts, they don't want to hear them. I repeat it. They don't want to hear these facts, I tell you. But I'll try to tell them to you, whatever they cost. I'll tell you these things, whatever they cost. So today I was talking about Africa's competitive advantage to empower our people. And please think about it. The questions I raised today were pertinent. If I'm wrong, come and challenge me on TV. Come and challenge me. I'll give you a debate. If you're a professor of economics and you think my reasons are wrong, and you think fiat money is better, and you think everything I've said is wrong, please write to us. Call us. Even go to my page on Facebook and say, Kato, I want to come and challenge you on the economy. You said we need to rethink our strategy of money. You are wrong. I will say, Professor, come on, discuss. Come take me on with your facts. Come and take me on with your facts. You are a professor of economics. So thank you so much, Dennis, for this time. Thank you so much for our viewers for giving us this kind of confidence and time. And please share, like, comment. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Dennis, give us that channel. Our YouTube channel is at Humanist TV Africa. Please share, subscribe, comment, like, share, subscribe, comment. Has been Kato Mukasa, your host, always determined to give you what others don't want to talk about because they fear they're going to lose their jobs, they're going to be hated, they're going to be denied visas, or they fear to talk about these things. But I'll continue talking about these things. Thank you so much, and see you in the next one.